I'm Roxie with Roxie's Broadway Breakdown. Welcome back to my channel. If you like things all musical theater, then this is the place to be. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. So I want to break down the Tonys for 2025. I'm always excited to watch the Tonys. I love the big production numbers. Usually makes me want to go to New York or at least see them when they come on tour. The Tonys are usually a huge advertisement for Broadway and come see us, come see our shows. I found this year to be a little lackluster, a little wah. When I first saw the list of nominees for Best Musical, which included Maybe Happy Ending, Dead Outlaw, Death Becomes Her, Operation Mincemeat, and Buena Vista Social Club, I was kind of like, really? These are our choices? Broadway had a huge year. The 24-25 season was huge. Lots and lots of shows opened, and then lots and lots of shows closed early. So, you know, these were our contenders in the end. My best friend was a judge for the Tonys this year, so he had to see everything. I'm not going to say his name. We had a long talk after the Tonys. He said some of his won, some of his didn't. Some things that he voted for made it to the end, and some didn't. I mean, that's kind of how it goes. So let me break this down for you. When I watched, you know, they had numbers from every show this year. They had performers. Some of the performers perform this year that were nominated either for Best Actor or Best Actress in a Musical. So from Buena Vista Social Club, I really liked that number. I did like the dancing. I liked the excitement. It looked like a fun night out at the theater. Patricia Delgado and Justin Peck were the choreographers. They did end up winning for Best Choreography. They beat out Christopher Gattelli, which I was shocked at because he choreographed Death Becomes Her. I love Christopher Gattelli as a choreographer. He's famous for choreographing Newsies, which I think today is still one of the best choreographed shows ever. But, you know, when I watched the number from Death Becomes Her that was performed by Megan Hilty and company, it was a little lackluster. It was a little pedestrian, which shocked me because I expected more from Christopher Gattelli and his choreography. It was a little, and it just didn't excite me about that show. And I have tried to watch throughout the year anything I can get my hands on from all of these shows, whether they perform, you know, on the Today Show or the Tonight Show or, you know, CBS This Morning, whatever, Playbill.com, you know, if they have excerpts from the shows. Anything I can get on YouTube, like I've just tried to get everything, a flavor from all these different shows. And Death Becomes Her just hasn't grabbed me yet. Buena Vista Social Club looks really, you know, fun and exciting and new, and I love the choreography. It looked very inventive. So I did like that show, what I saw from it. Maybe Happy Ending, which eventually did take home the prize for Best Musical. It's about two robots that fall in love. Darren Criss ended up winning for Best Actor in a Musical. Surprisingly, his mannerisms, he really has captured that very robotic kind of thing about robots. I don't know. It's kind of eerie how much he's captured, like the movements and mannerisms of a robot. Even his eyes look kind of, I don't know. It's eerie. So, I mean, if that's kind of what the judges went on, like his mannerisms and how much he's like a robot, okay. The overall show to me looks kind of boring, for lack of a better term. I don't know. It's not something that, it looks very techy and tech driven. I mean, it's about robots, and a robot sci-fi, just not my thing, but got Best Musical, so there must be something to it. Operation Mincemeat, sorry, that show, everything I've seen about it, everything I've read, everything I've watched, just, and the Tonys performance, I know. That's a big no for me. Operation Mincemeat. Did not like it. And then Dead Outlaw. Dead Outlaw, I have done a video on this show before, way back when it was on Off-Broadway. This show, to me, does intrigue me. It's about an outlaw that was killed. His body was kept preserved and taken around to all these carnival sites as like a freak show attraction, and then finally found in an amusement park, you know, like 100 years later as a prop. I don't know. The way they've built a whole musical around this, it's something about this intrigues me, the story, a true story. But it's about the outlaw Elmer McCurdy, and the number they did on the Tonys, they didn't let the main character Elmer McCurdy perform, and apparently he does have a lot of big numbers in the show. So I just wondered, like, why didn't you choose a number that he got to do? So, or that he gets to do in the show. Yeah, I was a little, even my friend said that was not a good, that saw the show, said that was not a good representation of the show. So I don't know what they were thinking there. Moving on to some other standout numbers that I liked. I thought Jonathan Groff as Bobby Darin in the show Just in Time, I thought he was fabulous. I thought that particular character, that role, just, it suits him to a T. I thought he's charismatic and delightful, and it was just Jonathan Groff just being Jonathan Groff, and just as Bobby Darin. I don't know, the whole thing, it just delighted me, and I thought he's a true showman. I guess that's what, he's just a true showman, and he's perfect for that role, and I just love Jonathan Groff in pretty much anything he does. When it comes down to Best Actress of a Musical, I think this is a tough category. You had some real winners in there. You had Megan Hilty from Death Becomes Her. You had Nicole Scherzinger from Sunset Boulevard. You had Audra McDonald from the Gypsy Revival. Sunset Boulevard took home the prize for Best Revival. And then when I watched the performances with Megan Hilty and Nicole and Audra, Nicole blew me away. I don't know what I was expecting from her, but wow, 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 wow. Between her acting, she was a powerhouse, the voice. I was really blown away from her. I really didn't know what to expect as Norma Desmond, but she just really blew me away. And I was applauding. I was like, wow. So she did end up taking home the prize for Best Actress in a Musical. When it came to Audra McDonald, now I have seen many, many, many a Mama Rose. I have been in Gypsy. I've seen tons of different Mama Roses. I have seen practically, I think, every Mama Rose on the Tonys, from Patti LuPone to Bernadette Peters to Tyne Daly. And they've all, I think Bernadette did Mama's Turn. I think Tyne Daly did Mama's Turn. Did she? Anyway, I've seen so many renditions of Mama's Turn, and Audra chose to do Mama's Turn on the Tonys this year. I was just incredibly, incredibly impressed by Audra McDonald's version of Mama's Turn. It's probably the most powerful performance I've ever seen of that number. It was completely gut-wrenching. I think that's the first time I've really, really been pulled into the character and thought, wow, that Rose has just, we've witnessed a nervous breakdown on stage. Audra just nailed it. She nailed it. I felt what Mama Rose is feeling at that moment in the show, which is just a true nervous breakdown, and the realization of, I have given up my life for these kids, and what did I get? What did I get in return? So, yeah, I mean, and that's Audra. I mean, Audra is sublime. She is a true actress in every sense of the word. Her voice, she is a classically trained soprano. She is a soprano. She calls herself an operatic soprano. I felt that the role was just a wee bit out of her wheelhouse. That role is called for, it calls for a mezzo-soprano, like one of those just big belted mezzo-sopranos. And so I found that the low tones She was kind of having to scream, which that's not really Audra's way to sing. And I felt that the high notes, she kind of jumped into an operatic, you know, flip to her voice, which is, so there wasn't really a nice blend in there for her and for Rose. And so I really did feel like it was an odd mix of head and chest, and I felt like the role just wasn't in her vocal wheelhouse. Had she had that, it would have been a beautiful blend for the character, and it would have been a perfect blend for the character, and she would have probably been the best Mama Rose I've ever seen in my whole life. So when it came down to voting for Best Actress in a Musical, you know, you go, well, do you give it for just acting? Because if I had to give it for just acting, I would have voted for Audra. If you have to give it for acting and singing and the whole package, I guess Nicole, because she really did have the acting and the voice. I mean, it is a musical. If you want to give it for just political sake, you say, well, Nicole's never won and Audra's a 6-time Tony Award winner. I don't know. I mean, what do you do? So, I mean, that's kind of where ideas get bounced around. I'm sure it gets talked about. I don't know. I have to ask my friend. I didn't really talk to my friend that much about, well, what were politics, what were things that, we just kind of talked in generalities. But that's how that all kind of shook down as far as shows and actors and actresses and who took home the prizes. We talked a little bit about Cynthia Erivo as the host. I love Cynthia Erivo. She's one of my favorite performers. And this is where I think things are different when you see it in person, live and in person, and then how things read on TV. He said she was just electric in, you know, in the theater. She just, everything she did, the opening number, you know, all her humor, everything, the audience just loved her. For me, the opening number was subtle. I liked it. I found it read a little subtle for theater. I'm used to the opening numbers being very big and bold and razzle-dazzle and, you know, dancers and theatrical. And I told him, I mean, I got that the song was appropriate for theater, obviously, like everything's about a song, and she named all the Broadway shows in it. But they were like subtle nods to the shows, and so it was more a TV host for like the Emmys or the Golden Globes or the Oscars, that her humor was very subtle, like the George Clooney bit or the Oprah bit. It was a lot more toned down and subtle. It was all very tasteful. I thought she was funny, but it wasn't like big and bold and theatrical. So he said, you know, that's interesting, because in the Radio City Music Hall, like, everyone's on their feet and everybody just thought she was great, and it landed great. Like, she nailed it. And I said, it's not that I didn't enjoy her, I found it very subtle humor, and it just didn't read big theatrical Broadway Tonys. We both agreed we liked her much better than Ariana DeBose. Any day. We'll take her any day over Ariana DeBose. It's just not like the Neil Patrick Harris opening that I still miss Neil Patrick Harris as the host. I'm just going to put that out there. But that being said, whatever. Moving on. Okay. There you go. There is my rundown of the Tonys for 2025. If you have any comments that you want to share, please put them below. And until next time, bye.